Welcome to the EPG Padashala, the lecture series in computer science for the postgraduate program. And this is the compiler design course. We are in module 30, where we are going to talk about a simple code generator and how do we allocate registers for all your variables, and based on the instructions that said that is going to be generated by the simple code generator. So this is the development team, and the learning objectives of this module are to understand about the simple code generator algorithm, to learn about the data structures involved in the simple code generator, and then to understand the register allocation procedure, where we will be discussing about two ways. One is based on the interference graph, other one is based on the use statistics basically. So this is the keywords. Okay, simple code generator. It generates target code for a sequence of 3 address statements. So far we have basically come up with a information where we have represented our intermediate representation as a 3 address code in terms of quadruples and triples, and later we have also organized these quadruples and triples in terms of basic blocks and control flow graph. Now this is the input which is fed to the simple code generator. We have also calculated the next use information, where we did a backward scan from all the of all the statements and then assigned at which particular line statement line number a variable is being used, variable is currently being used. Now based on these information, we have actually calculated this next use information, and that is also fed as an input to the simple code generator algorithm. So for each operator in a statement, there is a target language operator. Okay, that is the assumption here. For example, you have a multiplication operator, and then you assume that there is a opcode called as multiplication in the target language. That is your assumption. And then we also going to use a new function called as getReg, which is getRegister, to assign registers to variables. So these three are your input or the requirement for the simple code generator, where input will be 3 address statements, and using the next use information will also be available there. And along with that, we also are under the assumption that for every operator in a statement there is a corresponding target language operator, and it uses the new function getRegister to assign registers to variables. Now in addition, the computed results are kept in registers as long as possible. Okay, that is, it is not taken off the register immediately, but it is kept unless the register is required for some other computation. In that case, you again free the register, and in addition to that, the register is kept up to a procedure call or end of block to avoid errors. So this is also required. So where we say that the register is kept up to a procedure call. So till a procedure call happens, the value is kept in the register. When a procedure call happens, the value is transferred back to the variable, and then you are trying to free the register for use. So that is one more thing. And here it also checks if the operands to 3 address code are available in registers. Okay, so this is also going to be checked. So before we actually get a register, we will also check whether a particular operand is available in a register or it is not available. So for example, this is going to be your input A is equal to B plus C. So which means that an instruction of this form, add Ri comma Rj, is possible only if A and B are in registers Ri and Rj, and this is going to cost one instruction, and the result is going to be available in the register Rj. That is, we are going to have here source and destination. So source plus destination is computed, and the result is available in the destination register. That is what is our assumption. And then you have an instruction of the form add C comma Ri, where C is not going to be in the register, but B is in register Ri, and this is going to cost us 2. Why? Because we have already said that whenever a memory is involved, that is going to cost you one more additional unit. So therefore accessing C is going to cost us 1 unit, and add itself is going to be costing us 1 unit. Just for simplicity we will assume, and then therefore this is going to cost us 2 units. Then third thing is, you have a move C comma Rj, and then add Rj comma Ri. Now supposing a register Rj is available, in that case what we do is, we will move the variable C into the register Rj, and then you already know that Ri is available in a B register. So then you can issue the command add Rj comma Ri, which is again going to cost us 3 for the same scenario, because this is going to be costing you 2 units, a move function is 1 costing you 1 unit, accessing the variable c is going to cost us 1 more unit. So this is going to cost us 2 units plus this instruction, the add alone is going to cost us one more unit, resulting in a cost of 3. Now this simple code generator algorithm uses 2 data structures. The first one is called as the register descriptor and the second one is called as the address descriptor. Now the register descriptor is used to keep track of the variable which is currently available in a register at a particular point in the code. So what does it basically say is, given a query as register, okay, given register as R0, it will return what R0 contains basically. So if I say give me the content, give me what is available in R0 or R1, it is going to tell me what variable is available in the register R0. So example, a local variable, an argument or a global variable, etc. could basically be the query, and move a comma R0 will return R0 contains a. Now this will be a command. After this command, the register descriptor will be updated as R0 contains a. So when I query what is available in R0, it will say R0 contains a as my result. So register descriptor will tell you what value a particular register contains. Okay. The next one is address descriptor, which is used to keep track of the location where the current value of the variable is found. For example, the query will be again here the variable name, and the result will be where is this variable available, is it in memory or in register. If it is both in memory and register, it will tell us that it's available in register as well as in memory. So if it is in register, it's going to give me the register name as an answer. So the query again here will be where is a available, where is the variable a available. Answer will be a is in R0 if I have done a statement of this particular sort. Move a comma R0 will tell me that R0 contains a, that is according to the register descriptor, and address descriptor will tell me that a is available in R0. Now the example given here, move R0 comma R1, meaning that I am also copying the value of register a into R1 also. So here we will say that a is available in R0 as well as R1. Okay. So this is also a possibility. So these two data structures are going to be used by the simple code generator algorithm. Now the code generator algorithm flow is given here. For every statement of the form x is equal to y operator z. Okay. So this is a typical 3 address statement. We have already seen this. So you will use a function called as get register, which is going to take 2 argument y comma z. Okay. And that will return one register. Okay, that will return one register name that is assigned as L. Okay. And this register is used to store the result of y operator z. Now if y doesn't belong to L, meaning that if the variable y is not available in this register, okay, which means that get register function will return, if a particular variable y is in a register, it will return the same register as the answer. Okay. Supposing y is available in R0, it will return, get register function will return basically the value, the register R0 itself as a return value which will be assigned to L. So that is why we check here, if y doesn't belong to L, you generate the instruction move y dash comma L. Okay, where y dash denotes one of the locations where the value of y is available. Typically we will choose a register. So that is, this y dash can be available either in the register or can be available in the memory. Okay. If it is available in the register, we will basically issue that as a command here, where it will say again move R0 comma R0. So again it will be a redundant instruction that can be handled later. So typically this value of y is moved into a register if it is available in memory. If it is not available in memory, if it is already available in register, then this command is of no use, which will be removed later during code optimization, not here. Okay. So now I have moved the content of y into a register which is returned by the get register function. The next one is after the first thing, you issue a command operator z dash comma L. Now again operator is, you are operating y operator z, so that operator is used here. So you are going to issue the command operator z dash comma L, where z dash is again one of the locations of z. If z dash is in register, use register. If z dash is in memory, you use memory basically. Okay. So how will I know where Z dash is available? I can do a query to the address descriptor. If I can query the address descriptor will return where Z dash is basically available. Now if Y and or Z has no next use and is stored in the register, update the register descriptors to remove Y and slash or Z. So supposing I am computing Y operator Z, right? So the result will be now in a register which has got the value which is to be put into X. Now if we also have the next use information to the code generation algorithm. So once that is given, that is looked upon to check whether is there an immediate next use for Y and Z. If it is not, then we will remove the register descriptor and address descriptor to update the contents such that Y and Z are no longer going to be available in the register. Now the get register algorithm, this has basically 4 possibilities. If Y is already stored in a register R and R only holds the value of Y, okay, and R only holds the value of Y, and Y has no next use, then return R. Now this is a very important point here. If R only holds the value of Y. Now we've already said that, remember, R naught could, A is available in R naught comma R1, that's a possibility. Now there is also another possibility where I can say R naught contains value of A comma B. Why? So I would have probably computed A is equal to some combination, and then I would have stored the result in R naught. I would immediately have a statement called as A is equal to B. In that case, what will I do? I will simply not do a computation, rather I will simply say that the register value R naught contains now both A comma B. Okay. So I will not issue any statement here, I will not issue any move command here, I will simply change the register descriptor's content such that register descriptor R naught will now contain both the values of A and B could be my result. So therefore, that is why this check is now done, where we say that if R only holds value of Y and Y has no next use, then you return R, update the address descriptor and value Y no longer in R. So now this is also taken off your register descriptor's content. If it is not in a register, this is a very simple example. If it is already in that, then you have to check whether this R has got some other variables also assigned to it. If it is there, you have to copy that variable back to, the register content back to the variable using a move command, and then you can use R for Y. Now if Y is not in a register, this is a very simple case, then you have to find a new empty register and give it to get register function. Now this can be done only if the register is available. Okay. If the register is not available, then what do we do? You have to find an occupied register R, store the contents by generating move R comma M. That is, you have to move the content of an existing register to a memory. Now this can be done using your next use information. So you have to choose a register which has got a variable who will not have an immediate next use. Okay. So that will basically be chosen, and you update the contents of that register back to the memory itself, back to the variable itself, and then update the address descriptor accordingly, and then you have to return this register R. So this is the third option. Okay. And the last option is, if I cannot find any register at all, then you return a memory location as your area for computation. So you are not going to compute in register in that particular situation. So now this is going to be a very strange scenario. So all register allocation algorithms will take care of issuing a register to the user to the maximum possible extent. So get register will either issue a register R if that variable itself is already in the same register R, again updating the corresponding address descriptor and register descriptor. If it is not in a register, it will issue a new register if it is available. If no register is available, it will find an occupied register, okay, and then move the content of that register back to its memory. Now that is done basically depending upon whether a particular variable has got an immediate next use. So you will find a register which has a variable who will not have an immediate next use. So that is available, that is checked upon, and then you issue a command and update the address descriptor accordingly. If no such thing is happening, I will return a memory location as my return value of get register function. Now let's consider this example. D is equal to A minus B plus A minus C plus A minus C. Now here I am going to construct 3 address code. So I have a parenthesis here. So I will use T and this is U, and then I have to do a T plus U here, and then that is V. Again I have to do a V plus U. Okay. So this is what is the sequence. Now the code generation sequence is here. T is equal to A minus B. Now according to the register function, according to the simple code generator function, what will you do? We have to issue a command move A comma R naught, that is you have to get a register. Now getting a register, I assuming that I have only 2 registers here, I am working on this code generation sequence. Now if I have 2 registers, I am calling the registers as R0 comma R1. Now what will I do is, assuming get register is going to issue a register called as R0. So I will issue move, this is my Y, A is my Y and B is my Z here. So I will issue a command move A comma R0. Now at this particular point we will say T is available in R0. Okay, I mean yeah, at this particular point you need not say, because at this point you can say A is in R0, but you are going to compute something here, so we will wait. So then what you have to issue is, you have to issue the command subtract B comma R0, that is, this is going to be a operator command. Operator Z comma the location L here corresponds to a register, and Z here is available in memory only, because we already know registers are empty, and the address descriptor is also going to tell me that B is available only in memory. So this is what I have basically done. So 2 instructions corresponding to this statement. Now the result is in R0. Now that is termed as the value corresponding to T. So at this point I will update the register descriptor and address descriptor as R0 contains T and T is available in R0. Okay, the next one is U is equal to A minus C. Same thing is done here. Now we already know R0 contains T, A is not in R0. Okay, so therefore A is in memory only. Now I have a free register, so this will basically choose the second option as per the get register function, which is issue a new register if possible. So it is issuing R1, and then I am moving A comma R1, subtracting C comma R1. So result will be now in R1. So R1 contains U and U is in R1. So this is going to be my situation here. Then the third one is V is equal to T plus U. Now we already know T is in R0 and U is in R1. Okay. So therefore I will issue the command. So what will get register function issue? Get register will basically issue only R0 as the value corresponding to T. Okay. So I am issuing here add R1 comma R0. So now R0 contains V and R1 contains U. This R1 has not changed. Only R0 has basically changed. So U is in R1 and V is in R0. Then the next one is D is equal to V plus U. Again I will have a query to the get register function to check to issue a register for V, but we already know V is available in R0. So I will issue a command here, simply add R1 comma R0, because I already know U is also in R1. So this is the only command which is being issued. So then R0 contains D. Okay. So after this computation I have to move the result back to D. So therefore I will do a move R0 comma D, because this is the last statement. Okay. So R0 contains D, D in R0, D in R0 and memory, that is going to be your final conclusion. So at this particular point D is available in R0, R0 contains D. So since D is also in R0, we have to simply say I have updated the value of D also, as well as R0 also contains the value of D. Now supposing you have the other statement something like this, A is equal to B of I, then this is going to be my situation, move B of Ri comma R, or it will be move Mi comma R and then move B of R comma R. That is, here I am assuming that I is in register Ri. Here I is in memory Mi, or I can be in stack. So depending upon which instruction I am trying to refer to, I will correspondingly issue a move register. Now I already know the index I in register Ri. So I have to simply do this B of I comma R. Okay. So that is what I have done. Similarly here I know that this value I is in memory only. So I have to move this Mi to R, then you do a B of R comma R. So now R contains A. So that is what we have to basically come up with. This is on the I is available in the stack. So I have to issue Si of A. So get it from the stack pointer and move it to R, and then move B of R comma R. The last statement is same here and here and here, but here it is in register itself, the I. Now to get the value of register of the index I to a register, I am doing a command here. Similarly, if I have A of I is equal to B, I will do this accordingly. So B comma A of Ri, move Mi comma R, move B comma A of R. These two are same. Again, I am moving the contents of the memory into register. Okay, so I have done that. So this is going to cost us 2, 2, and here it's going to cost us 4. So because this is going to be an indexed cost, so which is going to be 2 and 2. So now this will be 2 and this will be 2 again. So that's going to be 4 and 5 here. Okay. Other possibilities are it could be a pointer. So where again the pointer P could be in register RP, or it could be in memory MP, or it could be in stack. So where I have to use a similar analogy of what I have done with respect to the indices only. Now only thing is I have to ensure that the computation basically happens correctly. Okay. So A is equal to star RP means P is in register RP. In that case I can just dereference the register and move it to A. Okay. So if P is in memory, then I have to move this memory to register, and then I dereference star R and move it to R. So similarly with respect to stack, and vice versa for the other conditions also. Now if it is going to be a conditional statement, I have to basically issue instructions depending upon whether the jump is going to be negative, 0, positive, non-negative, non-zero, or non-positive. So it uses a set of condition codes to indicate whether the computed quantity of a register is 0, positive, or negative. So here the first case is if x is less than y, go to z. If this is to be evaluated, then what we do is we subtract y from x, and that will be in a register R, and then you jump to z, the location z, if R is negative, because we have subtracted y from x. We have done x minus y here. So if x is less than y means I have to look at jump on less than or jump on negative. Basically I have to go to z. That is my condition. Second case could be using a compare statement, where compare x comma y could be the instruction which is issued. Then you set the condition code to positive if x is greater than y, and so on. So here this is how it is done. So this will be compare x comma y. Okay, compare and jump if less than z, jump to z if value is negative. So compare and jump if the value is less than z, and then go to that particular location. So you can use operators less than, greater than, less than or equal to, greater than or equal to, not equal to, or equality. Okay. So if x is equal to y plus z, if x is less than 0, go to that. This is going to be my input. So how do I correspondingly generate code is move y comma r naught, add z comma r naught. So result is now in r naught. So if r naught, move r naught comma x. So x is going to be the condition code. So I am moving the register value back to x. So compare and jump if less than to z. Okay. So you do a comparison, and if it is less than that, you basically go to, if it is negative, you basically go to z. That's going to be your statement. Now all the simple code generator algorithm is based on the get register algorithm. Okay. The get register algorithm is simple, but it is not optimal. But again, register allocation problem itself is going to be an NP complete problem. Okay. So all the live variables and registers are stored at the end of the block. Okay. And the global register allocation assigns variables to limited number of registers and attempts to keep these registers consistent across basic block boundaries. Keeping variables and registers in loops can be beneficial. So here you have a concept called as global register allocation and local register allocation. So local register allocation is for a particular basic block, how many registers do we basically allocate. Okay. And on an average across basic blocks, how many registers we have to basically allocate. That is what we are trying to look at. Now you normally go for a local register allocation and then expand that for a global register allocation scenario. So here supposing loading a variable is going to cost, x has a cost of 2, and storing is also going to have a cost of 2. So benefit of allocating a register to a variable x within a loop is computed as use of x comma b plus 2 into live of x comma b. That is what is your summation. So, summation over all blocks, you do a computation use of x comma b plus 2 into live of x comma b, where use of x comma b means is a number of times x is used in b, and live of x comma b is equal to true if x is going to be reused in subsequent blocks, okay, after exiting from a block b. So, use this formula depending upon whichever variable has got this maximum quantity, that variable can basically be given a dedicated register, because supposing if I am going to swap this variable back and forth from a register, if it is going to live after the basic block, that variable has to be again loaded back to the register for computation. So, you have actually moved the variable, stored the variable back to from the register to the variable, that is going to cost us 2 units, and then you are restoring it back to the register, that is going to cost you 2 more units. So, while exiting a block you would store, while entering a block you will again load. So, since store and load are going to happen if a variable is going to be living after a basic block, then it is better to keep that variable in a register itself, not and avoiding load store instructions. So, that is why this 2 is used here, because it is going to be costing us 1 for loading and 1 for storing back. Okay. So, based on that, let us have this example. I have 4 blocks here, B1, B2, B3 and B4, and these are my instructions here. The variable that is entering here, the live variables entering here are B, C, D, F. The variables that are leaving here, that is going to live after this block is A, C, D, E, F. The variables that are going to live after this block is C, D, F and so on. Now, when I have here F is equal to A minus D, this particular block A is used once, D is used once, and F is supposed to be living. Okay, whatever you are defining is called as living here. Similarly here, if I say B is equal to D plus F and E is equal to A minus C, the variables A, C, D and F are used once and B and E are supposed to live. Now, when you compute something, it has to be used in subsequent basic block, that is your intention. So, therefore, B and E are supposed to live here. Now, coming back to this block, A is equal to B plus C. So, B is supposed to be used here, C is also to be used here, D is supposed to be used here and F is also supposed to be used here. Now, E actually is getting defined here only, okay, E is getting defined here only. So, therefore, E is cannot be considered as a live information, because E is used here as well as E is defined here. Now, let us take this example, block B1 use and live, okay, block B2 use and live. So, in block B2, let us take this example. In block B2, A and D have one use each and F is supposed to live, okay. So, block B2, A and D are used and F is supposed to live. So, I assign values here and then my computation is nothing but across these basic blocks, use is counted as 1 plus twice of live. So, for example, for the first variable A, 2 into 1, 2 plus use which is 3 plus use which is 1 which is 4. So, you compute this value and depending upon whichever has got the maximum value, you have to choose that value as going to be the, that variable will be assigned a dedicated register. In this example, the variables B and D are going to be used, have got more use and live information. So, therefore, it can be assigned a unique register of its own. Okay. This is one case of register, assigning which variable should basically get a register. Now, after that there is one more algorithm which is called as graph coloring algorithm, where when a register is required but all the registers are in use, the content of one of the used registers must be stored to free a register. This is called as spilling, that is temporarily transferring the content of register back to the memory and then giving the register for use, that is called as spilling. So, you have to minimize spilling as much as possible, that is going to be our intention. Now, what happens is here we have an approach called as graph coloring, which is used to allocate registers and attempts to minimize the cost of spills. So, what we do is we will have to build an interference graph based on how the variables interact with each other and interfere with each other. Now, we know that a graph coloring problem is nothing but to find the least number of colors required to color a given graph such that no two adjacent vertices will have the same color. So given a graph, we have to color the graph with the least number of colors possible such that no two adjacent vertices will have the same color. So that is called as the K coloring for the graph. Now what is my nodes here? My nodes correspond to variables and the color I assign is called corresponds to your registers. So to start with, how many, okay, if I have to translate this graph coloring problem to the register allocation problem, how many registers are required to assign to the variables such that no two registers, no two variables which interfere with each other will have the same register. So this interference graph will have the edges assigned such a way that if two variables have to interact with each other, then they will have an edge. If they have to interact, they'll have an edge. So therefore, those two variables will not get the same color, okay, will not get the same register rather. So consider, for example, in the earlier thing, we had we are going to construct a register interference graph where nodes correspond to symbolic registers, and you have to define an edge, okay, if one is live at a point where other is defined, okay, one is live at a point where other is defined. That is, when you are defining one particular variable, and if some variable is already been defined earlier, then I have to have an edge between these two variables. So A in the first block B1, which we have done in the example, so A is a node, D is a node and E is a node. The first line assigns A, second line assigns D, so I have to define an edge between A and D, and this is going to be used also, okay. And then I had defined an edge between D and E. So for this basic block at least alone, you definitely require two registers because this is not a complete graph. So I can use one color for D, I can use the same color for A and E respectively. So therefore, this is going to take, this graph requires two colors to color. So this is the basis for your register allocation, which is based on the graph coloring strategy. So now there are other register allocations problems also available where the we have algorithms called as Chaitin's algorithm, Briggs algorithm to allocate registers using the graph coloring strategy itself, where the interference graph is considered on a larger scale and then we keep allocating. So again, that is an NP problem. Therefore, for this particular course is concerned, we will have just the use and live statistics as well as how to allocate based on a simple graph coloring approach itself. So that should be fine for this particular course is concerned. So on summary, we have seen the simple code generator algorithm where we have used two data structures, register descriptor and address descriptor, and we have also looked at the register allocation where it uses the use and live statistics as well as the graph coloring approach to register allocation. Thank you.